He was just 26 years old when he destroyed an empire that had ruled the known world for over 2 centuries. This isn't the plot of a fantasy novel, it's the true story of one of history's most audacious gambles, a battle that would forever change the course of civilization. This is the story of Alexander the Great versus the Persian Empire. Imagine an empire stretching from the shores of Greece to the mountains of India, a superpower of immense wealth, manpower, and tradition. This was the Achaemenid Empire, ruled by the King of Kings, Darius III. For over 200 years, Persia was the center of the world, a colossal entity that seemed invincible. Its armies were legendary, its cities like Babylon and Persepolis were jewels of human achievement, and its influence was felt across 3 continents. To challenge Persia was not just to challenge an army, but to challenge the established world order itself. From the small kingdom of Macedonia, a new force was rising. A young king, barely out of his teens, named Alexander. Tutored by the philosopher Aristotle, he was brilliant, ambitious, and possessed an unshakable belief in his own destiny. When his father, Philip II, was assassinated, Alexander inherited not just a throne, but a mission, to do what no Greek had ever dared, to bring down the Persian Empire. He wasn't just a king, he was a military prodigy, leading from the front, sharing every hardship with his men. His army, though small, was a hardened, professional fighting force, fiercely loyal to their charismatic leader. The stage was set in 331 BC on a wide, flat plain near a village called Gaugamela, in modern-day Iraq. This was it. The final showdown. Darius III had learned from his previous defeats against Alexander. This time, he would leave nothing to chance. He meticulously chose the battlefield, leveling the ground to give his Scythian chariots a perfect run. He gathered the largest army the world had ever seen, pulling troops from every corner of his vast empire. Historians estimate his forces numbered anywhere from 200,000 to nearly 1,000,000 men. It was a sea of soldiers, Bactrian cavalry, Indian war elephants, elite Persian immortals, and archers as numerous as the stars. Facing this overwhelming tide was Alexander, with an army of fewer than 50,000. He was outnumbered at least 5-1. The odds were not just long, they were astronomical. The night before the battle, the Persian camp was a city of campfires, the air thick with the noise of an immense host, confident of victory. In contrast, the Macedonian camp was quiet. Alexander's generals were nervous. His most trusted commander, Parmenion, urged him to launch a surprise night attack, fearing they would be overwhelmed in a daylight battle. But Alexander refused. "I will not steal my victory," he declared. He wanted to defeat Darius in a straight fight, to shatter the myth of Persian invincibility for all to see. He then went to his tent and slept soundly, a display of supreme confidence that electrified his men. As the sun rose on the day of destiny, the 2 armies faced each other. The Persian line stretched for miles, a seemingly endless wall of men and steel. Darius placed himself in the center, surrounded by his best cavalry and his royal guard, the Immortals. His plan was simple and brutal: use his massive numbers to envelop and crush Alexander's smaller force. He had Scythian chariots to tear through the Greek infantry and cavalry wings that were meant to flank and destroy. Alexander, seeing this, knew a frontal assault was suicide. He needed to do something completely unorthodox. He arranged his army in a strange, oblique formation. Instead of facing the Persian line directly, he angled his right wing forward, as if he planned to march right past the Persian left flank. This immediately confused the Persian commanders. Was he attacking? Was he retreating? As Alexander advanced at this strange angle, the Persian cavalry on their left wing charged, trying to stop his flanking maneuver. This was exactly what Alexander wanted. He had anticipated this move and positioned a second line of infantry behind his main phalanx. A brilliant tactical innovation designed to protect his rear from the very envelopment Darius was planning. As the Persian cavalry crashed into Alexander's flank, this hidden second line held firm, turning the side of the battlefield into a chaotic, grinding melee. With the Persian left wing now fully engaged and drawn away from the center, Alexander saw his moment. This was the opening he had been creating all along. He gathered his elite companion cavalry, his best horsemen, and formed them into a tight, powerful wedge. Then, in a move of breathtaking audacity, he ordered his central infantry, the phalanx, to feign a retreat. Seeing the Macedonian center seemingly buckle and fall back, Darius and his commanders believed victory was within their grasp. They surged forward, eager to deliver the killing blow. But it was a trap. The retreat of the phalanx had created a gap, a temporary weak spot in the Persian center, right where Darius himself was positioned. This was Alexander's signal. With a battle cry, he personally led the charge of his companion cavalry, not at the flanks, but straight into the heart of the Persian army, directly at Darius. It was like a spear point aimed at the enemy's brain. The shock of this sudden, violent charge into their center threw the Persians into chaos. They were expecting to crush a retreating enemy, not face the fiercest cavalry in the world led by a king charging like a man possessed. The fighting around Darius's chariot became desperate. Alexander and his companions fought with ferocious intensity, cutting their way through the king's personal guard. For a moment, the two kings were within sight of each other. Darius, seeing the collapse of his royal guard and the unstoppable advance of Alexander, was seized by panic. His nerve broke. He turned his chariot and fled the battlefield, abandoning his army to its fate. The news of the king's flight spread like wildfire through the Persian ranks. The heart of the army had been ripped out. Morale shattered instantly. A force that had seemed invincible just hours before dissolved into a terrified mob. The battle turned into a rout, a complete and total slaughter. The Macedonians, who had been fighting for their lives against impossible odds, now pursued a broken enemy. The Battle of Gaugamela was over. Alexander had won. In a single afternoon, the world had changed. The flight of Darius marked the end of the Achaemenid Empire. Alexander marched unopposed into the great cities of Babylon and Susa, hailed not as a conqueror, but as a liberator. He later captured Persepolis, the ceremonial capital, and in a symbolic act, the great palace was burned, signaling that the old dynasty was gone forever. Darius III would later be murdered by one of his own governors, a tragic end for the last king of kings. Alexander the Great, the 26-year-old from Macedonia, was now the master of the largest empire on earth. His victory wasn't just a military one, it was cultural. He founded cities named Alexandria across his new empire, from Egypt to Afghanistan, creating centers of Greek language, art, and philosophy. This fusion of Greek and Eastern cultures created a new, vibrant civilization we now call the Hellenistic Age, which would shape the development of the West and the East for centuries to come. The Roman Empire, the spread of Christianity, and even advancements in science and art all owe a debt to the world Alexander created. The Battle of Gaugamela teaches us a powerful lesson that echoes through history. It shows that no empire is too big to fall, and no challenge is too great to overcome. It proves that a smaller, more agile, and brilliantly led force can defeat a giant. It's a testament to the idea that genius, speed, and courage can triumph over brute force, and that sometimes, the destiny of the world can be decided in a single day, by the will of a single individual. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey back in time. If you found this story as fascinating as I do, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more epic tales from history. Let me know in the comments what other historical battles you'd like to see covered. Until next time, stay curious.